Okay, now we are going on to J. We are looking at the ordinary shares. Okay, but I've seen that this adjustment is not going to be affecting our income statement. It's actually affecting question 2.2, which wants us to do the ordinary share capital, not to the balance sheet. It's fine anyway. Let's see how we're supposed to go about it. Okay, so already in the answer book, this is what is already given. They've given us the ordinary shares on 1 March 2019. The amount is 2,587,500, but we are not given the number of shares here. Okay, let's find out what is it that they are saying on the question. On the 28th of February 2019, the company had shares in issue with a weighted average of R6.90 per share. R6.90 per share. Okay, fine. This is the amount that we are given. We are not given the number of shares, but we are told that one share was R6.90. So in order for us to get the number of shares that we are supposed to record here, we are supposed to take the ordinary share capital, 2,587,500. We divide by 6 Rand 90. 2,857,500 divided by 6 Rand 90. If you divide, let's go to our calculators. We see that when you divide, we get something like 375,000. So 375,000 is the number of shares. It is the answer that you're supposed to record here. 375,000 ordinary shares on 1 March 2019, which amounted to 2,587,500. Let's go on to the next bullet. On the 1st of March 2019, the company issued a further 125. How many? 125,000 shares. Okay, 125,000 at what price? Okay, ordinary shares is at 7 Rand 30 per share. Okay, so let's also record those shares. Shares issued. Shares issued at, what is the amount? 7 Rand 30. 7 Rand 30. So we can calculate again. 7 Rand 30 times 125,000 shares. It is going to give us 912,000. 912,500. Okay. So this is the amount for the additional shares that were issued. Okay, the 125,000. Let's move on. On the 31st of January 2020, the company repurchased how many shares? 37,500. When they repurchase, it means they are reducing their ordinary share capital. So the 37,500 is supposed to be in brackets. Okay, all right. The 37,500, they are saying that they were repurchased at 8 Rand 50 per share from the estate of a deceased shareholder. Okay, but we know that, okay, fine, this is the amount which was paid for the shares, but this is not the amount that we are going to record in our ordinary share capital account. Why? Because we are supposed to find the average share price or the average issue price for these shares. It is the one that is recorded here. This 8 Rand 50, it is going to be recorded as bank, but it doesn't necessarily mean that our ordinary share capital was reduced at that amount. We have to find out exactly how much was the average issue price or the average share price of those 37,500 shares. And then how do we do that? Okay, we look at the amount of ordinary share capital at the beginning of the year, and we also consider the one that was issued during the year. We add the two amounts and then we divide by the number of shares that were issued. Okay, so in other words, I'm saying that, okay, the 2,587,500 plus, which is the balance at the beginning, plus the one that were issued during the year, 912,500. Okay, we are going to divide by the number of shares. How many shares for these amounts that I've indicated? 375 plus 125. Okay, I can also just write the way it is, 375,000 plus 125,000. Okay, so the total above here, if we check with our calculators, we are going to get something like 3.5 million. 3.5 million divided by 500,000 shares. So this is rands, these are shares. Okay, 500 into 500,000 into 3,500,000, you are actually going to find out you are going to get 7 rand. So what is this 7 rand? We call it the average share price, or some books call it the average issue price. So I want you to listen to me carefully. Shares are repurchased at the average share price. Shares are repurchased at the average share price. So here now we are going to indicate that shares repurchased at what price? 7 rand. At 7 rand, the amount that we calculated here. So now we're going to say 7 times 37,500. Let's calculate. It's gonna give us 262,500. And don't forget to put the brackets. Remember, I said a repurchase will reduce our ordinary share capital. Okay, let's go back to the adjustment. They are saying that on 29 February 2020, Director Z Mvolu was issued 2,500 ordinary shares at 7 rand 40 each instead of his outstanding director's fees. No entry has been made. So this amount is increasing the ordinary share capital. These are shares that were issued. So the ordinary share capital is going to increase by those 2,500 shares that were issued. So we are going to indicate 2,500. Okay, 2,500 ordinary shares. Okay, issued. Shares issued at how much? 7 rand 40. So we're going to indicate 7 rand 40. So 7 rand 40 times 2,500 will get something like 18,500. Okay, it seems as if we have now recorded everything that was supposed to be recorded in our note for the ordinary share capital. Okay, fine. So the last thing that we are supposed to do now is to find out, okay, fine, at the end, how many shares do we have and how much is the amount at the end of the year. So, okay, fine. On this side, if we say 375 plus 125 minus 37,500 plus 2,500, okay, we check with our calculators, it becomes 465,000. We get 465,000. 465,000. Okay, 465,000 is the number of shares that we have at the end of the financial year. So we can also even indicate that, okay, fine, it's ordinary shares on 29 February. Ordinary shares on 29 February 2020. Okay, and at the same time we also need the amount. So the amount is easy to get. It's this plus this minus this plus this. It will give us something like 3,256,000. 3,256,000. So we are done with our note. This note has got 10 marks anyway. So the most of the work is actually here on you calculating the average share price. You need to remember, whenever there is a repurchase shares, we need to find the average share price first before we can multiply with the number of shares. How do we get the average share price? We say the shares at the beginning plus the ones that were issued, and we divide by the number of shares, of which in this question the number of shares are these, the 375 at the beginning plus the 125 that were issued during the year before the repurchase. We get an average share price of 7 rand, and then this is how we do the ordinary share capital, not when there is a repurchase. The repurchase, remember, the average share price. Thank you.